brothers crossed the cloister, though neither walked alone. One carried books and silence, one carried bread and light, and somehow in the quiet their hearts began to unite. Martin spoke of distant roads, of things he could not name. Bernard never asked him why, and never asked the same. You never asked me what I hide, you only stayed here by my side. When every road had lost its way, you made the darkness turn to day. And if the years should take us far, I'll know just where my brothers are. Not in the books, nor stone, nor prayer, but in the friend who still is there. They worked beneath the candlelight, they shared the evening meal, while winter pressed against the walls and summer warmed the fields. Sometimes Martin fell to silence, his eyes were far away, and Bernard simply poured the wine and waited for the day. He never sought the hidden words, nor what the old pages knew. He only knew that Martin's heart was tired and sometimes blue. You never asked me what I hide, you only stayed here by my side. When every road had lost its way, you made the darkness turn to day. And if the years should take us far, I'll know just where my brothers are. Not in the books, nor stone, nor prayer, but in the friend who still is there. Perhaps the world will never know the names we leave behind. Perhaps the years will close their doors and bury every sign. But friendship needs no monument, no golden words or stone. A faithful heart can carry far what cannot travel alone. You never asked me what I hide, you only stay here by my side. And if one day I leave this place, remember not my words or name. Just remember there was once a friend who walked beside you to the end. And when the final bells have rung, let this be all that must be sung. Two men, one road, one faithful friend, and a story carried to the end. The winter wind was at the door, the candles burned down low. Bernard found Martin by the fire with pages in his hands. The letters seemed like distant stars from worlds he used to know. And when he heard a whispered name, he knew he had to ask, candlelight, old shadows came to life. A name, a road, a vanished face, a wound that time could not erase. He told me little, told me more, of things he'd never said before. And in the pages of the night, I saw the man behind the light. Of distant northern roads, of footsteps in the snow, of someone who had taught him once the things the world won't know. He spoke of journeys, loss and fear, of nights without a home, and how a man may carry far the things he can't let go. Bernard never pressed him hard, nor asked him to explain. Some stories need a quiet heart before they speak again. By the candlelight, old shadows came to life. A name, a road, a vanished face, a wound that time could not erase. He told me little, told me more, of things he'd never said before. And in the pages of the night, I saw the man behind the light. Then Martin closed the oldest book and held it to his chest. Some things are not for every ear, some memories need rest. But if one day you find these words when I am gone from here, remember only this, my friend: I trusted you because you stayed. By the candlelight, by the candlelight, the past was breathing still. Not every truth must speak aloud, not every shadow must be named. But now Bernard could understand the silence in his friend, and what was written in those pages would not simply end. The candle faded with the dawn, the old book closed its eyes. Two friends remained beside the fire, while history waited outside. There were pages in his chamber, bound in leather, worn and old. Lines of ink beneath the candle, secrets sleeping in the gold. Bernard saw them every morning, saw them lying by the wall. But he never tried to read them, never asked what they recall. For some men seek the hidden truth, and some are born to know. But Bernard had a simpler heart, he loved the man, not what he wrote. Let the old pages sleep, let the dead keep their dreams. I have no need to follow every shadow in between. If you need me, I am here. If you fall, I'll stay near. I don't need to know your secrets, I only need to know you're here. Sometimes Martin spoke of Ophiles, sometimes only spoke the name, like a word from some forgotten world of sorrow, light and flame. Bernard listened by the doorway, then returned to work again, for he knew that every mystery was not his to comprehend. lost 1,000 things, but friendship taught him more. A door may open when it will, you never force the door. Let the old pages sleep, let the dead keep their dreams. I have no need to follow every shadow in between. If you need me, I am here. If you fall, I'll stay near. I don't need to know your secrets, I only need to know you're here. And Martin smiled, for in this world of questions, where every man desired to know, he'd found one soul who asked for nothing, one heart that simply said, I will not let you walk alone. Years went quietly around them, seasons crossed the monastery stone. Books were copied, bells were ringing, young men came and old men gone. And the pages gathered dust there while the candles slowly burned. For Bernard never touched them, and Martin knew he never would. Let the old pages sleep, let the dead keep their dreams. I have no need to follow every shadow in between. If you need me, I am here. If you fall, I'll stay near. And if someday you must leave me, I'll remember you were here. So the books remained in silence, and the years went drifting by. Neither man could see the ending, neither knew what would survive. The quiet brother never sought the key, he only kept the door. The autumn came in silver, the leaves fell through the rain. The bells were calling morning, then calling once again. But Martin stayed beside his bed, his face a little pale. He smiled and said, it is the cold, the winter will soon fail. But Bernard knew the quiet change, the breath between each word. The hand that once turned heavy books now trembled when it stirred. When the bells grew distant and the morning seemed far away, I stayed beside you in the silence. I stayed beside you through the day. You said, do not be troubled, there is nothing left to fear. But I could hear the bells grow distant, and I knew the end was near. beside him, the chapel filled with light. Martin watched the shadows move across the wall at night. He spoke of roads he'd traveled, of names Bernard had never known, then fell asleep mid-sentence with his hand upon a stone. Bernard brought him water, and Bernard closed the door. He asked no questions of the past as he had asked before. When the bells grew distant and the morning seemed far away, I stayed beside you in the silence. I stayed beside you through the day. You said, do not be troubled, there is nothing left to fear. But I could hear the bells grow distant, and I knew the end was near. One evening Martin whispered, my brother, come sit here. He reached beneath the bed frame and drew an ancient bundle near. The leather had grown brittle, the pages dark with years. Bernard looked at his old friend and saw the answer in his tears. Not tonight, said Martin softly. Tonight, just let me rest. There are things that must be carried, and I know who I can trust. Outside the rain was falling, the courtyard lay asleep. The bells began their evening call, so solemn, slow and deep. Bernard held his brother's hand until the candles died, and neither spoke of tomorrow. They simply stayed side by side. When the bells grew distant and the world began to fade, I stayed beside you in the silence. I stayed beside you unafraid. You said, do not be troubled, the road is not the end. And though I could not follow you, I promised to remember. The bells grew distant through the mist. The last light left the stone, and somewhere in the sleeping dark, a dying man was not alone. The bells grew distant, but one faithful heart remained. The night was still around them, the chapel lights were low. The rain upon the window had nowhere else to go. Martin lay beneath the blankets, his breathing soft and slow, while Bernard sat beside him, afraid to let him go. I have walked a road, said Martin, that you were never shown. There are names within these pages that I have carried on my own. There are things I cannot tell you, there are things I cannot know. But the hour has come, my brother, when I must let them go. I have no need need to understand. I only need to hold your hand. If these old words must travel on, I'll guard them when you are gone. I never saw the things you knew. I never asked what they could do. So if you trust them now to me, I'll keep them as they came to thee. Martin reached beneath the covers and drew the bundle near. The leather cracked like winter bark, the pages smelled of years. Bernard looked upon the manuscript, then slowly shook his head. Brother, I am not the man who should be trusted with the dead. Martin smiled with tired eyes and whispered through the night, that is why I chose you, because you never sought the light. A hungry heart would open them, a proud man would demand, but you will carry what I give and never claim to understand. I have no need to understand. I only need to hold your hand. If these old words must travel on, I'll guard them when you are gone. I never saw the things you knew. I never asked what they could do. So if you trust them now to me, I'll keep them as they came to thee. Perhaps one day another hand will turn these pages slow. Perhaps some distant soul will ask what all these words could know. Do not become the keeper who forgets the man behind. For every page has someone there, a heart, a loss, a time. The candle trembled in the room, the flame began to bend. Martin closed his weary eyes, then opened them again. Bernard, I am here, and I am not afraid. And for a little while they listened to the rain. I have no need to understand. I only need to hold your hand. And if these words must travel far, I'll keep them as they are. I never saw the things you knew. I never asked what they could mean. I only promised you, my friend, to carry what remains. The candle burned beside them. The night grew pale and thin. Two brothers shared the silence as morning gathered in. Martin closed his eyes. Bernard held the pages, and neither spoke again. monastery was sleeping, the corridors were still. A silver moon was resting upon the distant hill. Beside the narrow window, a single candle burned, and Bernard watched his brother as the hours slowly turned. Martin no longer spoke of journeys nor names from long ago. His hands lay still upon the blanket, his breathing soft and slow. Bernard brought him water, then knelt beside the bed and listened to the silence where once his laughter spread. Outside the night was waiting, the world had disappeared, but in that little chamber there was nothing left to fear. When the candle dies and the night gives way to dawn, if you close your eyes, my brother, you will never walk alone. I will carry what you gave me. I will guard the words you knew. And though I cannot follow, I will walk the road for you. Martin opened tired eyes and looked upon his friend. A faint and gentle smile appeared as if he saw the end. Do not mourn the road behind me, every road must end somewhere. What is given to a faithful heart is never truly lost. Bernard could not answer, his voice had gone away. He only held his brother's hand and waited for the day when the candle dies and the night gives way to dawn. If you close your eyes, my brother, you will never walk alone. I will carry what you gave me. I will guard the words you knew. And though I cannot follow, I will walk the road for you. The flame grew small, the shadows grew long. Somewhere beyond the cloister, a lonely bell was calling. Martin breathed once, then breathed no more, and all the night stood still. Bernard bowed his head and whispered, "Rest now, my friend." The candle trembled softly, then gave its final light. The first pale breath of morning was rising through the night. Bernard remained beside him, his hand upon the bed, while dawn entered the chamber and touched the face of the dead. When the candle dies does not mean the light is gone. Somewhere in another hand, the flame is carried on. I will carry what you gave me. I will guard the words you knew. And though you cannot follow, I will walk the road for you. The bells began to sound. The monastery woke, and Bernard sat alone with the pages in his hands. The candle died before the dawn, but the light went on. chapel filled with light, but one familiar voice was gone. One place remained untouched. The brothers walked in silence. The prayers began as before. Yet Bernard heard the emptiness behind each closing door. He entered Martin's chamber. The room was cold and still. A cup remained beside the bed, a book upon the sill. He stood there for a moment and thought he heard him speak, then found the ancient manuscripts where Martin told him keep. He did not read the pages, he did not seek their name. He only wrapped them carefully and guarded what remained. Memoria Fratris Martini, the memory of a friend. Some roads begin with sorrow, but sorrow is not the end. I do not know the secrets, I do not know their way. I only know he trusted me, so I will bear them through the day. He tied the bundle tightly with leather worn and brown, then placed it underneath his cloak and slowly left the town. The monastery faded behind the morning mist, and Bernard turned toward distant roads with one last glance behind. He carried no great purpose, no prophecy, no plan. He carried only something entrusted by a friend. Memoria Fratris Martini, the memory of a friend. Some roads begin with sorrow, but sorrow is not the end. I do not know the secrets, I do not know their way. I only know he trusted me, so I will bear them through the day. Perhaps beyond the mountains, perhaps across the sea, another hand will find these words that once belonged to thee. Perhaps some distant reader will wonder who we were, and never know that friendship was the reason they were there. The road went through the forests, the hills were turning gold. The world was wide before him, the morning bright and cold. And Bernard never opened them nor asked what they concealed. He simply kept his promise as the road beneath him rolled. Memoria Fratris Martini, the memory of a friend. A life may fade like candlelight, but not the things we send. I do not know the secrets, I do not need to know. I only know the pages must continue where I go. One man was gone, the pages remained. One road behind him, another unexplained. And somewhere beyond the mountains, where neither man could see, the story began again.